I complain about modern Pokemon a lot. I haven't liked a single Pokemon game for almost 5 years now, and my job has been ranting about Pokemon games not meeting up to standards, or how Game Freak or LCA is a bunch of lazy, rushing, and cutting corners hacks. So many ask me, what do you expect from a Pokemon game? What kind of Pokemon game needs to be made to satisfy the ever-old cynical hater Giram? What would qualify as an unconditionally good Pokemon game, not a good for a Pokemon game, but a good game? Short answer, just make another goddamn Pokemon game with the caliber of Pokemon Black and White 2, you idiots! Okay. Long answer,
Hidden Red.
hello fellow Jerrycans. Today I'm gonna share a dream. A dream that will never come true. An alternate timeline, a parallel Earth where Pokemon games are always good and I have every reason to be hyped for a new release.
You're living in a dream world!
In this fantasy, there's a Pokemon game that's perfect in every way. What is my dream Pokemon game like? Part 1. Development time. Couple weeks ago, Pokemon Company announced they're gonna release Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, aka Gen 9, on holiday 2022. I stated that this sounds like a recipe for another train wreck of a game. That's too soon for a Pokemon game. Releasing 3 games in the span of 2 years is a bad idea, and they should skip a year. Then I got so many damn comments saying, "Oh Giram, it's been 3 years since Sword and Shield. It's time for a new generation. There has been 3-year gaps for a new generation since Pokemon X and Y, so it makes perfect sense for Scarlet and Violet to come out in 2022.
Do you know how to count? By the time Scarlet and Violet releases in late 2022, it'll be 3 years since Sword and Shield released. Why are people saying it is too soon? They release them every 3 years. Says this when Gen 8 came out 3 years ago, when Sword and Shield came out 3 years after Sun and Moon, and X and Y came out 3 years after that game, and so on and so forth. So who gives a fuck now? You understand that Black and White came out 4 YRS after Pearl and Diamond, right? But you're a clown, so, and XY came 3 YRS after Black and White. Why are you crying? It's been 3 years since Gen 8. They release new gens every 3 years. Y'all are truly stupid.
The last game that had a 3-year gap between releases, Pokemon X and Y, Pokemon Sun and Moon, Pokemon Sword and Shield. Were they complete, good, finalized games? I'm sorry, am I remembering it wrong? Wasn't Pokemon X and Y an unfinished 3D graphics tech demo that desperately needed a third version? Wasn't Sun and Moon a game that cut corners by half-assing the later part of the game and had many island trials missing? Wasn't Sword and Shield? Well, Sword and Shield? And don't talk about that stupid conspiracy theory that Scarlet and Violet has been in development since Obama was president or some shit. It's obvious this game has been in development since the release of Sword and Shield, so at most 3 years, and I want a game that has had a longer development time. I don't need a new Pokemon game shoved down my throat every year. Game Freak's biggest problem is cutting corners with graphics or content these days, and I think the biggest reason why they do it is not incompetency, but due to the fact that Daddy Ishihara demands a new product he can sell and make money off the masses every year. So instead of 3 years of development and annual releases, my dream Pokemon game would have at least 5 years of development time.
You're living in a dream world!
Back in the old days, 3 or 4 years might have been enough to make a video game complete because they were making 2D games. But Pokemon is franchised on an HD 3D console now. You need more time than you needed in the past to make a 3D game. Compare it to the Zelda franchise. If you don't count spin-offs like Triforce Heroes, remakes, or 2D handheld games like Link Between Worlds that are probably made by a different team, look at how many years there are between releases. Every game got about 4 to 6 years of development, minus Majora's Mask, which is an outlier, but that was possible by Majora's Mask reusing almost every asset of Ocarina of Time. Zelda is a series filled with critical acclaim and non-controversial fan loyalty. Pokemon is not. So Game Freak needs time to make the game look good, make the game actually run fucking well in 1080p 60 frames per second, have a complete story and post-game content, and no cutting corners with things such as the National Dex.
You're living in a dream world!
5 years sound right to me. I can't believe that these days, which should be a given in these games, aren't in modern releases. Do you still not see why modern Pokemon games suck? Part 2. The Region. Since we're talking about my dream Pokemon game, I guess I could throw it all out there. I like exploration in Pokemon games. I like traveling across the region to battle many trainers and catch diverse Pokemon. So, I want 2 regions in a game.
You're living in a dream world!
If, say, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet was my dream game, and since it's based off of Spain, I would have one new region based off Spain as the main campaign, and have the post-game be Kalos. Spain and France are right next to each other in real life, and Little Napoleon would confirm that is true. Let's have 2 regions, 16 gyms, 8 of them being returning Kalos gym leaders. Kalos characters didn't get any enhancements or development, so seeing them in a new light like we did with the Kanto gym leaders in Gen 2 would be nice. As for the map design, no linear south to north garbage. My favorite 2 regions when it comes to map design are Hoenn and Sinnoh. 2 regions where the overall region design isn't linear at all. My dream games region will have a similar feel to these regions. Plenty of optional areas or dungeons to explore like Abandoned Ship or Solacean Ruins. Dungeons with confusing maze designs like Victory Road or Mount Coronet. No embarrassing straight linear paths that mentally handicapped babies can beat with no difficulty like Galar Mine or Slumbering Weald. Solid map design with detail and many things to do.
You're living in a dream world!
The decks, I would have at least 300 Pokemon. I actually think Sword and Shield's 400 Pokedex might have been too big. There were too many Pokemon so that some of the new Pokemon got overshadowed by the old returning Pokemon. Like, I didn't realize this thing existed until I finished the game and saw other people talking about it. Pokemon Sun and Moon had 300 Pokemon, and I think that's the most adequate number for a local dex. Not too many or not too less. 2 minus double 151, eat your heart out, you sweet musical bastard. Among the 300, about 100 to 150 Mew designs and critters should be the most ideal. I also like it when they add Mew forms of Pokemon with Mew evolutions, Mega Evolution, and regional forms. Out of these 3, evolution of Mew Pokemon and regional forms is my favorite. So it'll be like Sword and Shield, Mew regional variants of Pokemon that aren't just from Gen 1 by the way, with Mew evolutions like Gallade or Obstagoon.
You're living in a dream world!
As for difficulty, despite Sun and Moon's problems, in my opinion, it's still the most decent game in the series in terms of difficulty balancing. Modern EXP share where every Pokemon gets EXP, but challenging battles. A lot of people complain that Pokemon games are too easy these days because of the Mew EXP share, and we should get rid of it, but I disagree. Modern EXP share in theory is good, because it makes the game less grindy since every Pokemon gets an equal level EXP. The problem with X and Y and Sword and Shield was that the battles were too easy and the NPC's levels were too low. So, I want my dream Pokemon game to have about the same difficulty as Pokemon Sun and Moon, where battles were pretty difficult despite the EXP shares, so the game wasn't a cakewalk, but had the EXP share so it wasn't grindy. Oh, and no forced EXP share.
You're living in a dream world!
Is this so fucking difficult programming an on and off button?
わかりません。
Part 3, Story and Graphics. Let's talk about the story of Pokemon games. Look, I don't mind putting narratives in Pokemon games. I know I complained a lot about the story in the Gen 7 games and Legends Arceus review, but having a story in Pokemon games is fine. It's just that the recent games' stories were just executed horribly. First of all, I wish a Pokemon game where they didn't cut corners with the cutscenes existed. You all know about the 2 diseases that plague modern Pokemon games, the Turnaround Syndrome and Blackout Syndrome. Turnaround Syndrome is when characters move like they are on a 2-dimensional plane, but walking only in straight lines, or turn around awkwardly at the same place because only their direction changed. This disease obviously happens because Game Freak is either too lazy, rushed, or cut corners of character walk animations. So, the dream game should have proper character animations.
You're living in a dream world!
Secondly, there's the Blackout Syndrome. Every time something hard to animate happens in the story, like a character throwing out a Pokemon, or a Pokemon interact with an object or something, the screen fades to black so they don't have to animate it. Now, other games do this too sometimes, but there's too much in these fucking games. I swear, every interaction in 3D Pokemon games somehow ends up with a black screen. It's obvious they're again, either too lazy, rushed, or cut corners with animations. I want a game where the 2 diseases are no longer present in the game's cutscenes.
You're living in a dream world!
Now let's talk about the amount of cutscenes. I don't mind dialogue when they're written well, but Pokemon games just have bad dialogue and too many cutscenes these days. They should either cut down the dialogue or make it like the Gen 5 games where the text scrolls by so fast so that you can skip most of it by spamming the A button without reading it. Or just program a fucking skip button. Is that so hard?
わかりません。
For the story quality, I don't expect too much out of a Pokemon game. I don't mind simple stories about children trying to defeat bad guys and trying to be the very best because the Pokemon franchise is really a children's game meant for everyone in the end. However, there's something that's important in Pokemon games in my opinion, and it's characters. Likeable characters in Pokemon, NPCs like gym leaders, Elite Fours, champions is a factor in Pokemon games that don't get a lot of appreciation in my opinion. They're overshadowed by the creatures who are the mascot of the franchise, but the trainers who control them are about as important too in my opinion. What I'm saying is, as long as the story features a lot of lovable characters with great designs, from handsome or waifu baiting gym leaders to charming champions, overly cartoonish villains that you just can't hate but find likable, Pokemon game stories will be fine for me. Just don't bombard me with boring lazy cutscenes or cringe long dialogue. My dream idea Pokemon game would be just the opposite of that.
You're living in a dream world!
So my dream Pokemon game will be like Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire's story. A lot of likable characters like the villain team, gym leaders, and rivals. Not too many cutscenes to be faithful to the original barebone Gen 3 games, but just enough so the game has some character. Enough story narrative, but still a lot of places to explore and find in Hoenn.
I love you. Now you set my soul on fire. It is not just a little spark, it is a flame. A big roaring flame. I can feel it now.
Part 4 Content. Let's just talk about something missing in modern Pokemon games that I want to have in the next installments, and that is things to freaking do other than the main campaign. The old Pokemon games had a lot of post-game content, so I want my dream Pokemon game to be like that too. No 3-hour mediocre story after the credits as a bonus, or complete the Pokédex being the only post-game goal that exists, or another damn Battle Tower clone. No, I want more than that. First, a proper battle minigame mode where players can grind hundreds of hours into with gimmicks please. Also known as, you know, the Battle Frontier.
You think I'm playing? You think I'm playing? You don't think I'll do it? Where is it? Where the hell is it? Look at me. Where the hell is it? Look at me. Stay with me.
I want the Battle Frontier, and it's not just because I'm nostalgic for the one in Gen 3 and 4. There are new mechanics introduced in Pokemon games after that, like triple battles, rotation battles, Z crystals, Dynamax. There are so many new facilities they can make with these new ideas and features. Imagine, I don't know, an Alolan themed Battle Frontier that have every Pokemon use Z crystals or something. Just think of all the opportunities.
You're living in a dream world!
Next, I want my region to have post-game areas. Like I said, it could be like that the game has 2 regions, where the second region is revisiting an old familiar region. Or, it could be like Platinum or Black and White 2. Have one region, but just make it so freaking big, there are plenty of places to go, even after the champion.
You're living in a dream world!
Also in my dream game, I would like a lot of fan service of old characters. In video games, especially Pokemon games, fan services with cameos is a nice addition. I only complain when a certain region with only 151 Pokemon gets the only attention because someone has a fetish obsession with it. You may call it lazy fan service, but I don't know. Imagine the next game has familiar popular characters like Cynthia, Steven, Alder, and N in it. You will admit that it will at least get your interest, and battling them as post-game content will be fun.
You're living in a dream world!
And of course, the best fan service that ever happened in a Pokemon game is the Pokemon World Tournament. Every gym leader and champion that ever existed coming back to battle you. What I want is simple. I want every gym leader, Elite Four, champion, island captain, Kahuna, everyone, Gen 1 to 9, to come back with each unique 6 Pokemon team. And you can battle every one of them in a single game. No shitty free-to-play gacha gimmick, just a real, mainline Pokemon game where you can get to battle everyone in the post-game. You may call this unrealistic, but they brought everyone back in 2012 in Gen 5, so why can't they do it here? They don't even need to make new models for their characters. They can just ask DNA to send the 3D models over from Pokemon Masters to use. Come up with teams for everyone. It's not that hard.
You're living in a dream world!
So in conclusion, my dream Pokemon is this. 1. It will have a 5-year development time without cutting corners. 2. There will be 2 regions in the game, one new region and one possibly familiar old region. 3. There will be no linear boring map design with plenty of dungeons and puzzles to explore and solve. 4. There will be 300 regional decks, with every Gen 1 to 8 Pokemon being on the national decks. 5. The difficulty will be similar to Sun and Moon, with the modern EXP share being optional. 6. The story will not have too much dialogue, and there will be no bullshit corner cutting like black screen or lazy character animation. 7. There will be a new battle frontier that incorporates gimmicks and mechanics of modern Pokemon. And 8. There will be plenty of fan service and a Pokemon World Tournament that has every Gen 1 to 8 characters.
You're living in a dream world!
Good. Dreams save us. Dreams lift us up and transform us into something better. And on my soul, I swear that until my dream of a world where
Pokemon games don't suck.
are the reality we all share, I'll never stop fighting. Ever.
You know, all these wishes I listed, these aren't unrealistic expectations or just a fan's stupid delusional wishes in my opinion. I didn't put out outlandish expectations like wanting 800 local decks or having every 9 regions be in one game. All of this can be done in 5 years of development in my opinion. It's not fucking rocket science.
わかりません。
Now, I will admit, I'm not a video game developer. I don't know how to make a video game, let alone code, so I may be talking out of my ass here. But do you know why I say it is possible for Game Freak to make such a game that meets all of my dreams and expectations? Because everything I just stated, Black and White 2, the best Pokemon game in my opinion, has it all. Game Freak just needs to do it again. They just need to put in effort and time again, and not be lazy, rushing, and cutting corners. The Pokemon Company needs to give Masuda and his fellow mates more time to make and polish the game, not rush out a new generation every 3 years so they can sell more merchandise. This is the level of Pokemon I expect from a $60 game. Not an empty, barren experimental tech demo. Not a butchered, faithful bastard remake of a game. Not an incomplete game trying to be a AAA Switch game. Not a remake that just targets stupid casual fans and children. And certainly, not a lazy cash grab that didn't add anything. We need to be like the old days. The old days when liking a Pokemon game wasn't controversial, or people would get mad at you for doing so. The old days when Pokemon games are actual reason to buy the system. The old days when Pokemon had magic and love put into it. Can a man wish, please?